Our guest today is Jessica Ryan. She's the Executive Director of United Way of Washington County East. And she's going to tell us all about their activities. Jessica?
Well, thank you very much for having me this morning. We are the United Way of Washington County East, and so we primarily are serving the Stillwater Area School District, but in the past few years we've spent a tremendous amount of time looking beyond and exploring other communities outside of the Stillwater Area School District, and so we truly are Washington County East. We are in a different time right now as a nonprofit, and so much of what we are doing right now is making sure that we are supporting our community and the efforts that are happening here and that are needed and required to be successful as far as supporting our constituents and our community members. We are an organization that's been around for 70 years. We have spent much of our time focused on youth, basic needs, health, and self-sufficiency. So when we look at the agencies that we're serving and financially supporting in this community, it typically falls in that area.
So, how important do you think you are in this pandemic period?
Yeah. Well, I started with the organization almost 4 years ago. And I will tell you that the way that we do business now is very different than when I started 4 years ago. I think that more than ever, we've spent much of the time with myself as the leader, really helping the community understand the importance of a local United Way. You know, not every community has a local United Way, and so we are really blessed in this community to have a United Way that is right here in the Stillwater area. And so we have the past 6 months really validated the importance of how needed, right, and the relevancy of our local United Way. We have looked at what the pandemic has done from the needs that exist, and so, you know, leading up to the pandemic, the needs that existed in Washington County look a little different now. And so we have a wonderful partnership with Washington County, primarily the Sheriff's Department and Public Health, and they really help us look at what are the needs now that we're in a pandemic, and then what is our United Way going to do about making sure that programs and our partnering agencies have the financial support that they need. As you can only imagine, the programs, the clients have significantly increased. The level of support that's needed in this community because of the pandemic has significantly increased, and so our number one responsibility as the local United Way is to ensure that we are financially supporting our programs at the level that they need to be supported, which is a lot more than before the pandemic. And so we are looking at the way that we can continue to raise money. We can make sure that people know where to turn if they are diagnosed with COVID-19, if they suddenly have a lapse in employment, they have a housing or shelter problem. We are really serving as the main resource in this community so that people know where to turn in the event that something very serious like that happens in their life because of the pandemic.
And what happens now? Where do you go from here?
It's a great question. We are an organization that is always looking at how we can become bigger and better. And so I think that the pandemic, I try to find it as a positive, that the pandemic has not only validated the importance of a local United Way, but it's really helped us look at how can we continue to be bigger and be better. And I think one of the areas that we're looking at is, every year we have a community investment process, and this is our number one annual opportunity where agencies can ask for funding. And so again, we've been doing this for many, many years, but this year was different. This year, we had more applications. This year, we had our agencies that were asking for more money. And so because of the pandemic, we are really looking at as a United Way, how can we raise more money? How can we diversify the way that we raise more money so that we can continue to not only fund the programs that are needed, but we know new programs are going to become implemented because of the pandemic. And so we'll need to look at ways that we can continue to raise money to support those new programs.
You know, the Boutwell community average age is 83. And certainly we want to support you any way we can. Are there other ways besides just financial that we could be involved?
Absolutely. We've typically not had a ton of volunteer opportunities just because, again, we're in a community where we are surrounded by agencies that are volunteer organizations such as Community Thread, Valley Outreach, some of our partnering agencies, to name a few. However, that being said, because of our new norm, we are looking at ways that beyond financial responsibility with the United Way that we can help develop some opportunities for volunteering. You know, one of the ways that we engage a lot of volunteers is our Stuff the Bus campaign, which is just wrapping up. Although I think we're going to probably have to look at a second edition to Stuff the Bus, if you will, with kids going back to school and looking at some of those needs changing for families as the school system, looks a little different in our new norm. And so that is usually an opportunity where we have a lot of volunteers that are helping to do school supply drives and such. And so stay tuned for some more information to come on that, because I do believe we'll be looking at a second edition of that. But the other way is really, through our community investment process. We are an organization that absolutely depends on our community members and our volunteers to make our funding decisions. So as I mentioned, our community investment process is our annual process in which agencies are asking for funding. We then recruit volunteers to review the applications, do the site visits, which this past year, a lot of it was Zoom, but do the site visits with our agencies and actually make funding decisions. They then ask for feedback, present that to the board of directors with the local United Way, and then the board decides how much each program will be funded. And so that is a really exceptional way for people to get involved, not only to receive an intimate sense of our partnering agencies, our community, the issues that exist, but then be able to make some really important funding decisions.
Well, it sounds like something that we might really be interested in. And if you are, you can get a hold of her at 651-439-3838, extension 3. Jessica will be happy to talk to you about what you might be able to do to help. Thank you, Jessica.
Thank you. That was great.